This could be Texas or New Mexico, or one of so many other quiet and arid places in the Southwest. It could be neglected or carefully preserved. It's hard to know which at first glance. And it could be now or 50 years ago. It doesn't matter. It hardly changes, except in the spring when the wildflowers bloom. We've had good rain this winter, so our brown grass turned deep green and our wildflowers exploded. It's quite a sight. Let's get in the plane and go see.
Cardinal 220 Camarillo Airport, runway 26, clear for takeoff.
220. We've got acceleration, rotation, climb, and we're on our way. This will be a short flight, but with lots of variety. So much that it'll seem like we're crossing 3 or 4 states worth. California, Texas, New Mexico, you name it. And where we're going, there's 2 particular things we're chasing. Wildflowers and a super fault known as the Dragon's Back of the San Andreas. The weather is perfect, and we're going to have a spectacular flight. And departing Camarillo Airport in Southern California. Forward view, I guess all the views showing the Pacific Ocean in the background. This is the second really warm day of winter. Late Sunday afternoon, March 17, 2019, and we're headed northwest in pursuit of the superblooms that are supposed to be out on the Carrizo Plain. Let's see where we're going. Not too far, as it's already late in the day. Here's California, and here's Camarillo between LA and Santa Barbara. We're headed to the Carrizo Plain, a unique place you've probably never heard of. To go there, we head northwest 70 miles or so as the crow, or rather, the cardinal flies. This takes us over the high and rugged mountains of the Los Padres National Forest. Past Pine Mountain, we follow the Cuyama River to the Elkhorn Hills, beyond which is the Carrizo Plain. Much of our flight's within Ventura County. It's a big place of great contrast from shoreline to interior, with its coastal plains, small cities, and productive farms largely near the sea, while inland, there are long stretches of lonely and rugged mountains. You'll see what I mean. We're taking the most direct route between the county's extremes. We're a little bit north of Santa Paula, actually between Santa Paula and Ventura. These are the foothills that are normally golden brown during the summer. They are glorious Irish green. Not that I've seen Irish green, but as green as California ever gets out here. Just so you know, here's why I'm in awe. This is what's typical here for 9 months of the year. So I'll enjoy the green while I can, thank you. Looking at the radar dome for the next rad weather radar on Sulphur Mountain. If you're curious, that golf ball looking thing on the ridge is the local weather radar. It's here because of the incredible view to the south. Its scans are added to the many other radars like it to make up the national weather maps, so you're likely looking at what this one does every time you check the weather. As for the name Sulphur Mountain, it's from its natural hydrogen sulfide vents that give off the overwhelming smell of rotten eggs. It's not the whole mountain that stinks, just a few spots you can smell if you drive by. This is a quick view of the upper Ojai Valley. The Ojai Valley is one of Ventura County's crown jewels and is a well-known day trip destination. The town of Ojai is charming and artsy, and its surrounds are full of natural beauty and ideal for Sunday drives. The town is nestled in the lower Ojai Valley, and then there's the second, more rural upper Ojai Valley that we're over now. Upper Ojai puts on its own wildflower display, mostly wild mustard, as if to say that we really don't need to go far from home if we want a quick dose of nature. Good to know, but we're still moving on. Dead ahead of us, Nordoff Ridge, just north of the city of Ojai, here in Southern California. We're going to turn off to the left rather than continue straight into the ridge. Ridge is going to descend to the left. Get a good view of the ridge in the meantime. This is a great spot for hiking. There's a fire road that runs along the top of the ridge. The views from here are glorious. See the ocean to the west and to the south. You can see far, far, far to the south, well into the Oxnard Plain, parts of Los Angeles beyond. We're back in the Los Padres now, roughly in the vicinity of Highway 33. In front of us is Pine Mountain, and not too far to the north of here is Mount Pinos, which is merely Spanish for Pine Mountain. I don't know who comes up with these names, but okay, so here we have Pine Mountain, and there's Pine Mountain, not too far away.
The Los Padres National Forest includes 10 designated wilderness areas. We're currently within its southernmost one, called the Sespe.
Okay, we're over the 33, following it as it crests over its path at the western end of Pine Mountain. Sweeping over the road, ahead of us in the Ozuna Valley. A little bit of snow left on Mount Pinos. See that off to the right.
Here in the extreme northwest corner of Ventura County, we've entered some proper backcountry. We're coming up on the Cuyama River. Though mostly dry, it has an unusually conspicuous bed that's easy to see, even from space. The Cuyama begins near here and seeks the ocean, but it won't find a pass through these coastal mountains for another 60 miles. We'll follow the river a bit as it takes us in the right direction.
Alright, we're in some interesting country as we follow the Cuyama River. There's a bit back here, very soft, very eroded. Looks more like New Mexico than does California, but we've got little bits of everything around here.
These ridges are the current form of so much lifted seabed. California is a land of great geologic movement, especially this place, as it slowly rises and slips northward along the San Andreas Fault. That famous fault runs parallel to the river and is only 10 miles to the right. These hills and the mountains to the north are the direct results of the fault, but the actual line of the fault around here is not obvious. A little further on in the Carrizo, it will be.
Flying in the vicinity of New Cuyama, these are the ridges just north of the river. In the distance, the ridge that defines the south side of the Carrizo Plain.
We've come upon Highway 166, which runs between Santa Maria on the coast and Maricopa in the Great Central Valley. There's a turnoff here for the main road into the Carrizo Plain from the south side. We'll follow this entrance road northbound. Note the change in the landscape. It's greener, lower, and very rounded, and without sharp edges like the ridges we just saw. The rounded shape suggests these are ancient sand dunes, likely made by persistent wind-blown sand from the north. Note how the road below follows a peculiar straight and level path carved through otherwise consistent rolling hills. You see, this is no ordinary valley. This is an exposed part of the San Andreas Fault, and the road runs right on top of it.
Looking for that superbloom. Oh, and see some yellow flowers just ahead. And hopefully that is only a small example of what I'm searching for, because that's not a whole lot as far as these blooms go. I would not call that a super bloom, sort of a mini bloom. Alright, we're on one of the shelves of the Tremblor Range. Tremblor Range, Spanish for trembler, meaning earthquake, because of the San Andreas Fault that runs through here. San Andreas Fault is a little bit off to the left here. I'm going to swing around, get a good view of it, with the light coming from the west. Should be very, very plain. Draws a very clear line, and you can see the offset, especially as the creeks run through up the higher land to the north. And what will happen is that you'll actually see how these creeks are offset to meet this line.
The drainages on the right are offset, beheaded, or abandoned by as much as a few thousand feet from recent motion along the fault. It looks like a giant zipper. It's called the elkhorn scarf, but it's also known as the dragon's back.
Oh, and off to the right, we've got some purple bloom. Let's take a good look at that. All right, here we are in the Carrizo Plain. San Andreas Fault to the right. Bloom of yellow and purple to the left. Let's swing around, get the sun in a good position. Hopefully see the colors well. Here we go. Really nice purple color in here.
Judging by the color, I'm guessing that the purple is Perry's larkspur, rare and hardly found anywhere but here. The yellow is the pretty common California goldfield.
Oh, intense purple. Hope the camera picks this up well. It is beautiful. Carrizo Plain, almost as empty as can be. Some cattle activity out here, but nothing and no one at the moment.
We've swung around for one last pass at the Dragon's Back before we depart the area. The offset drainages behind this first ridge are evidence of right lateral motion. That is, if you're looking across the fault, the other side is moving to the right. In this view, the left side is moving north and is taking Los Angeles with it. To say that sooner or later, LA will end up next to San Francisco. As you know, even a little Earth movement goes a long way, so hopefully all this happens much, much later rather than sooner. We're climbing out and headed for the Tremblor Range. There should be different flowers up higher.
On the south side of the Tremblor Range, north side of the Carrizo Plain, looking for the blooms. They seem to be at the upper altitudes now. Mostly have yellow, fair amount of purple. Got that. Looking for the gold. Want gold poppy.
California is famous for its orange gold poppies and endless fields of their brilliant color. They could be anywhere and everywhere, but we're not seeing that color around here right now. All the blooms are unpredictable. You never know what, when, where, or how much. Just because it's in some spot this year doesn't mean it will be there the next. Even heavy spring rains guarantee nothing. But as sure as spring follows winter, there will be reports in the news, and then we'll all know where to look for the best displays. It's map time. We've left the quiet of the Carrizo, crossed the trembling tremblers into the great Central Valley, and now we're going to ease eastward towards the oil town of Taft. Taft has an airport. We'll land there and stretch our legs.
Ahead of us, Taft, Maricopa, and the fantastic oil fields of southeastern Kern County.
Big changes to the scenery now that we've entered the southwest corner of the great Central Valley. We're crossing the Midway-Sunset oil field. It's the largest oil field in California and the third largest in the U.S. We'll fly over about 6 miles of it that looks just like this on the way to Taft. Oil makes all the difference. They found a little oil next door on the Carrizo, but not enough to make development worthwhile. As close as it is, though, the Carrizo doesn't share the same geology that traps oil like this place does. So the Carrizo Plain, with precious little oil or water, but lots of space and quiet, was put aside for preservation and won't ever become like this. We're just outside of a town named after William Howard Taft. It must be the quintessential oil town, built on top of a massive oil field and existing economically for little other than oil. 9,200 people call it home, and it's probably safe to say that many of them work for the oil companies and don't have to commute too far. Taft Airport's on my radar for 2 reasons. For one, it's a short flight from Camarillo, and for a local pilot, that's reason enough to check it out.
And for another, it has a well-known skydiving operation, and I've often heard them announcing jumps on the airport frequency. Right now, the radio's quiet because it's too late in the day and I'm sure the parachute people have all gone home. That's okay, I wasn't planning on skydiving with them this afternoon or any other for that matter. Now, I'm not saying there are only a few reasons to visit Taft. True, it's not exactly a vacation spot and it's a bit off the beaten track, but there's an oil museum and an intriguing old downtown. But more than that, if you haven't seen the area and the incredible extent of its oil fields, then you can't really say you've fully seen or understood California. Oil is immense in California, though most of it's in places you'll likely never see. This afternoon of flying's not done, as there's still the trip home from Taft to Camarillo, but this Part 1 concludes now. Part 2 is a dust flight over some remarkable country, made even more so by the setting sun. You know, there's times when it's just too pretty to fly straight home, and this is one of those times. So thanks for taking this trip with me to the Carrizo Plain and Taft, and I hope you join me for the trip home to Camarillo.